Wow. Questions, and I haven't even started. All right. So again, on your paper, here's what we want, guys. Now, please keep in mind, all right, at the top of your paper, you might want to write the formula. Can anybody tell me what circumference is, by the way, of the circle? What does that mean? The circumference is the area.
Oh, I thought you were
No, I don't think that's correct. I'm asking you what you think it is.
Pi times.
No, I'm not asking you for the formula. I'm asking you what is circumference.
I have no idea.
No idea. What does the circumference mean? Cece, thank you for volunteering. What was that? Circumference. Is not an answer. Tell me.
Oh, I was stretching.
Oh is not an answer.
Is it the width of a circle?
No, that's called the diameter.
It's the it's on the thing and it's radius times something.
No, we're not asking for the formula, guys.
It's the inside of the circle.
Circumference, tell us.
Is it whole circle?
The whole circle.
Yeah,
As opposed to what?
inside.
No.
The area of the circle.
No.
Numbers.
The distance around the circle.
Thank you.
That's
All right. So here we go. So that was obvious, right? For 5 minutes, we talked about what circumference is. And circumference is, again, simply the distance around a circle. Now, it took them a long time before they were able to figure this out. All right? So, again, there is a formula for the distance around. Most of the time we call distance around, what word comes to mind if we ask for distance around? No, area is what's on the inside.
outside.
What's a different word for circumference?
Perimeter.
Perimeter. Thank you. So now, perimeter is when you're talking about polygons or like a square or a rectangle or a hexagon. That is the distance around. All right, so you add the size. The reason why they chose a different word is because a circle really does not have a side. All right, so what I want you to do is at the top of your paper, I want you to write the formula for the distance around a circle. The distance around a circle. Does anybody remember from the good old days last year what it was called?
Pi times radius squared.
Close. That is actually the area of a circle. Somebody else. Circumference is equal to, so you put C equals pi times the diameter. And of course, D stands for diameter. And diameter now, look at question number 1. The diameter is how far across the circle is measured. All right? Now, we call that the diameter. And look at question number 2. What is that called?
Radius.
The what? Radius. So the radius from the center of the circle to the edge of the circle is called the radius. If you go from one side of the circle and pass through the center to the other side, that's called the diameter. So what I want you to remember is this. Right above circumference equals pi d, we're going to write that your diameter is always twice the radius. Your diameter is always twice the radius. All right? Now, in your math class, you were also taught there were 2 kinds of formulas for circumference. One was pi times the diameter, or you could say the circumference was 2 pi r. All right? Now, again, I prefer pi times the diameter, but 2 pi r is all the same. Now, why is that? Why are those the same formula? Because the diameter, please watch, the diameter is what? Twice the radius. So they're interchangeable there. All right? Now, a lot of times kids say, well, I'm just going to use 2 pi r if they give me the radius. Let me use pi times the diameter if they give me the diameter. So you can see on these problems, I prefer the pi times the diameter, all right? Especially in this situation, all right? So let's look at question number 1. What? What? Go ahead. Come on.
What does pi represent?
Okay, so that's not an unreasonable question. Pi. Now, pi, I don't want you to tell me is 3.14. I don't even want you to tell me it's 3.1419567. All right, I don't want that. All right, that is not necessary. All right, I want everyone in here to tell me, and that is actually was a very good question, that pi is simply the circumference divided by the diameter. The circumference divided by the diameter. So when somebody says, what's pi, you tell them it's the circumference divided by the diameter. And what's really weird is no matter what circle you take, if you measure the circumference and you measure the diameter and you divide them out, it's always a constant. That constant was given a name, pi, and they gave it a special letter. All right? So again, pi is only an approximation, 3.14. All right? That's what they tell us to use. But on our calculators, we have the pi button, so you don't have to type in 3.14. You can just hit the pi button. It'll do that for you. All right? So now, I want everybody to start with question number 1. Everybody write 1. This is mandatory. When I collect your work tomorrow, all right, I'm going to see if this is there. Number 1, you have to write the formula. C equals pi d. That's the first thing. Next thing, C equals pi times, what's the diameter of the circle? 12. So C is approximately, those squiggly lines are approximately because it's not going to be exact. So everybody type it on your calculator, pi times 12, and you're going to round to 2 decimal places. 37.70, and then of course we put the units, inches. Again, guys, listen, I want you to write the formula because when you take the ERBs, they're not going to give you the formulas. All right, so that's what we're practicing. All right, write the formula, do the substitution, and then use your calculator. That's it. 3 steps for every single one. All right, what?
For the thing, can we go straight to pi times 12, or we do pi times d, then pi times 12?
All right, let's just, that's what should be on your paper right there. All right, now let's look at number 2. So for me, number 2, circumference is pi times the diameter. Circumference is pi. Now, what's the diameter of that circle? 8. That's right. So everybody puts pi and then put an 8 in parentheses, C, squiggly lines, and then tell me what's pi times 8. Tell me. 25.13. Now, keep in mind, I'm looking down, guys. 3 steps for each one. The formula, the substitution, and the approximation. If it's not there tomorrow, you're not going to get the grade you want. All right? Yes.
You have to draw a circle.
Did I say draw the circle?
I don't know.
I said there's 3 steps.
Okay.
Listen. Step 1, step 2, step 3. That's the 3 steps. All right, come on. Pay attention. So on number 3, here we go. First step. C equals pi times the diameter. Step number 2. C equals pi. What is the diameter? 16.2. Thank you very much. Then you take your handy-dandy calculator. You say the circumference is approximately, oh, guys, by the way, I forgot. This was feet. I want you to put the units in. So what is it?
50.90.
50.90 centimeters, somebody said. All right, double check me on that. Is that correct?
Yes.
Double check. You have your own calculator. You're not writing the answer. You're checking it with your calculator. That's what you're doing. All right, now, do I care if you put 50.91?
No.
Do I care if you put 50.89?
No.
I don't really care. All right, I'm upset that you don't know how to round properly, right? But you should be able to just figure that out, even if you made a careless mistake. Do I want you using 3.14?
No.
No, because you have a pi button on your calculator. All right, what?
I'm kind of confused how it. You said you don't really.
All I'm asking you is, give me your question.
How is it not 50.89? Because it's 50.893.
Is it 50.89?
Oh, yeah.
All right, so 50.89. That's what I'm saying. I don't really care, but I appreciate you. All right, so 50.89. Thank you very much. All right, because sometimes kids' calculator, listen to me, the problem, and the reason I'm saying this, listen to me. Sometimes calculators are rounded out to 6 decimal places. I think you have one that's even longer. All right, so when you do the calculation, sometimes it can be off by a little bit. You hear me? All right, but again, that's why I'm saying I don't care. All right, I want you, if you're saying, wow, I forgot how to round, I want you to raise your hand and say, wow, I kind of forgot how to round. Will you help me out?
Do you know the password?
I have no idea. All right. It's okay. You don't need your iPad. Why do you need your iPad? Every single problem is right up here on the board. I don't want you doing your work. I want you following along with me. That's what you're supposed to be doing. All right, it's just a distraction. All right, let's go. Here we go. Number 4. All right. So again, on number 4, C equals pi times the diameter. So William, what? C equals
pi times d.
And what's the diameter?
10.5. So you do c equals pi, and c is 10.5.
Go ahead.
And then
Hey, what's wrong? What's wrong? All right, so tell me the answer now.
it would be 32.97. So you see that would be.
Is that about right?
We got 9A, which was
Okay, I'm not going to argue over whether it's 0.97 or 0.98. Is that okay with that? Really, guys, I'm not. I try to tell you, some of the calculators are just a little bit different. All right, I really don't care. All right, what?
So there's 32.97. Would it say that, or would you round it? Something.
Are you using the pi button on your calculator? No, you're using 3.14.
Yeah.
That's why it's a little bit different. You're not using the pi button like I said. All right, because you don't have your calculator for whatever reason. All right? Every day we're supposed to bring the calculator. All right, we're going to be using the calculator every single day.
I found it.
All right? All right, so thank you for that. Number 5, here we go. So again, for number 5, you write C equals pi times the diameter. Davis, go ahead.
Okay, so number 5, you do pi times d.
Right, so what's the diameter?
3.6.
Is that the diameter?
No.
So what do I have to do to that?
You do 7.2.
Thank you.
And
Pi
then
times 7.2.
And then pi, and then that equals 22.6.
22 to 2 decimal places. 22 point what?
0.61.
61. And we'll call that kilometers. All right, is everybody good with this? Any questions? Any questions? All right, now the hard one. All right, I want everybody to just read to themselves. Number 6. Read number 6. Shh. All right, now you got to think back to your algebra days in solving the equation. All right, because this time they give you the what?
The circumference.
This time they give you the circumference, and then they ask for the radius, I believe. All right, so everybody read it real quick. All right, and it says, what is the radius? Well, again, the first thing you're writing down is C equals pi times the diameter. All right, Morgan, what do I do next? What's the circumference? Tell me.
is 21.
Thank you very much. So we're going to put 21.3 in here. Is equal to pi times the diameter. All right, now I need you concentrating with me. I'm trying to find the diameter. So how do I get rid of pi? What do I do? What operation? Yeah, you're dividing both sides by pi. So now watch me. I'm dividing by pi. I'm dividing by pi. These cancel. So now take your calculator and tell me what the diameter is approximately. She's got this.
6.7.
Approximately 6.78, and we'd say that meters. However, they're asking for the what? The radius. So, Morgan, what do I do with that? Yes, you just divide it by 2. So the radius is, tell me, approximately 3.39. Approximately 3.39 meters. Shh. Boys, come on now. Speak up here. Tell me if you don't know something. All right, I don't want you to interrupt. All right, please now, Oscar, tell me a question.
Why don't you divide the diameter?
What? What did you say? What? Say it. I didn't hear you.
Oh, I think I know.
Okay. Hey, you're still interrupting me. Shh. All right. Now, we're going on to question number 7. All right, question number 7. Mr. Greek, tell me what to do. You got this? What's the formula again? For circumference.
Pi d.
Yes, pi d. All right, so what's the diameter for number 7? Yeah, the full one. So it's what?
7.
That's correct. It's just the 7. All right? Come on now. Ask me questions. Don't be frustrated.
I got 21.99.
So the circumference is, he's saying somewhere around 21.99 meters. Are we happy with that? Is that good? What?
Couldn't you round it
21 point what?
to 1?
You don't round 21.99 to 1.
Oh, yeah.
All right? If you wanted to round it to 22, we're not arguing about it. What?
So it's like for 21.9, so since it's 10th, is that the first 9?
Oh, I'm agreeing with you now. But listen, in math, standard for us is going to be the 2 decimal places. I'm not even reading. See what I'm saying? Like I said, that's why I don't even care what the rounding. The rounding, if you can't round, you missed out on 3rd grade. Right? That's what I'm saying. I don't care what the rounding is. I care, do you know the formula? Do you know how to plug the formula in? Do you know how to use your calculator? Do you know how to work backwards? That's what we're concentrating on. If you're ever off by a few hundredths, I don't care. You with me? Don't worry about that. If you put 22 down, I'm happy. All right? Because some people are using 3.14 because they don't listen. Some people use the pi button. All right? Some people, their calculator holds a longer pi value, so sometimes the approximation could be a little bit off. All right? So Ryan, help me with number 9, please. Tell me what to do here. Pi d. Okay. And what's the diameter? Yes. All right. So your circumference is roughly. Anybody else get 62.8? Bless you. And then put feet down. Now I said 2 decimal places, so is it 62.80 or is it 62 point what? Is that right? Okay, I'm happy with that. I'm happy. All right, thank you. All right, so here we go. Now, let's take a look at 11. All right. Let's get, you tell me about number 11. Good. You're brilliant. So, somewhere around there. Thank you. Anybody else double check that, please? No, we're doing the odds, remember? We're doing the odds. We're going to do evens tonight.
I got
17.90. What am I supposed to say about that? Okay. Anybody have any questions? Any issues? All right, here we go. Let's go with 13 now. All right. Go ahead, Tommy.
C equals pi d.
Good.
C equals pi times 9.4.
Perfect.
And 29.5.
All right, and here we would mark it as meters. I'm pretty happy with that. Now I like doing 15 too now because we have the fraction. Make sure you remember how to use your fraction button on your calculator. All right, so Luca, tell me.
17?
Yep. No, 15.
15. Alright, so
C equals what?
C equals pi d.
Pi d. So pi. Now, what is the diameter?
The diameter is
You use your calculator. What do I have to do to find the diameter?
multiplied by 2.
Multiply by 2.
So 22
20. Yes, thank you, sir. Very good. 22 1/2 is the diameter because we just did 11 1/4 times 2. And now multiply that and tell me.
basically 70.69.
About 70.69, and then we would say that's measured in feet. Yes.
If you times the radius by 2, wouldn't it be 22 over 2/8?
I don't know. Did you try it on your calculator? Why are you telling me I'm wrong when you have a calculator in your hand that will do fractions? When you multiply by 2, you don't multiply the denominator by 2. You only multiply the numerator by 2. That's why it's 2/4, which is 1/2. Okay, now we're getting into something that is a little bit tricky. Okay, so would everybody take a look at 17. Here are 2 sand dollars. They want you to compare the circumferences. When somebody says compare the circumference, they generally are talking about how many times bigger is one than the other. How many times bigger is one than the other? All right, so I want to find the circumference. Watch this. It's the circumference of the small. That's the subscript, S. The circumference of the small sand dollar. All right? So again, that's pi times d. All right? And what's the diameter? Somebody had a hard time in the last class figuring out what's the diameter here. They didn't understand the symbolism. What's the diameter?
1 and 1/4.
Yeah, that's what that line is showing you. That's the diameter. So it's going to be the circumference of the small sand dollar is pi times 1 1/4. So the circumference of the smaller one is approximately what? I'm waiting for you, Oscar. Let me know, Oscar.
3.93.
About 3.93. And then the circumference of the large. Well, let's go. You tell me.
6.
Pi times d. So what's the diameter?
2 and
Right? Okay, so the circumference of the large sand dollar is what?
7.85.
So it's approximately 7.85 inches. All right, so now the question is, how many times bigger is it? So who can tell me how to figure out how many times bigger the large one is than the smaller one? Nope, not subtract them, although that's not a bad idea.
You could divide.
Yeah, listen.
7.85.
Yeah. Listen to me. Very important. Now listen, they're going to ask you that on the ARBs, I promise you. They're going to ask you. All right, to make a comparison. Generally, it's how many times bigger. So a lot of my kids say, well, why are you dividing if it's how many times bigger? Because you're trying to figure out what they multiplied by. All right, so to figure out what they multiplied by, you would what? Divide. All right, so now everybody take 7.85 and divide it by 3.93, and that's roughly what?
2.
Is it?
It's
1.99.
Yes, all right, so I like that. So it's 2 times, all right? And if you put 1.99, would I even care?
No.
No, it's 2 times greater. It is 2 times greater. Does anybody have any issues with that? All right, so now I really need your attention. So stop, put your pencils down. Everybody stop, put your pencils down. All right, I'm going to ask you about question number 19. Look up, please. All right, for whatever reason, stop and listen. You just need to really concentrate on what I'm saying. Listen to me now. All right? Again, I don't think this is on the ERBs, but it's something a little bit more advanced. All right, so I want you to pay attention. If I were to draw a circle, one complete circle, and let's say I decided to go on a walk. All right. And I started here. And what I did was I walked all the way around. If I walk all the way around, what's that called?
Aaron.
Circumference.
Yeah, it's called the circumference, correct? But instead of calling it the circumference, we also call it a what?
Perimeter.
Nope.
Oh.
We call it a rotation. So hear me, listen to me now. Please listen to that. I don't think that's a very big deal. All right? So when you create a circle, watch me create a circle, guys. I'm going to create a circle by making one rotation. Does everybody see what I just did? Come on now. Try to look up because I'm trying to make a demonstration. To make a circle, I just make one complete what? Rotation. That creates the circle. Does everybody agree with me? And one rotation, we said, is how many degrees? All right, so you understand what I'm saying. But the words sometimes seem more confusing than they actually are. All right? So in this case right here, it says the radius was 3.96 meters. So I'm going to put, you don't have to do this, you just have to pay attention. That's 3.96 meters. Find how far the minute hand, so if we're doing a clock, how far would the minute hand travel? So what they're asking you is, again, you're going around how many times? How many times does the minute hand go around if it goes around 2 rotations? It goes around twice. So one time around is called, again, instead of calling it a rotation, we call it the what? Circumference. So if it goes around twice, they're just saying go around how many times? Twice. So instead of calling it one time for the circumference, if you go around twice, it would be what? Twice. All right? So when they ask you for a rotation, I want you to put down that 19A means that you have 2 rotations. I want you to write this down. 2 rotations is equal to 2 pi d. 2 pi d. Now, why is it like that? Because pi d is 1 circumference. 2 pi d is what? 2 circumferences, which is the same as 2 rotations. All right? Now, somebody tell me what a half a rotation would equal. A half a rotation would equal, go ahead, Oscar, since you're listening now.
Radius? No, diameter.
I know, but what would I be doing if I said, find what a half a rotation. If you travel half a rotation, you're actually traveling what?
Pi d divided by 2.
Yes, pi d divided by 2. But you guys, I should also want you to know, instead of saying that, we could just say 1/2. Do you agree with that? So you could say 1/2 pi times the diameter. All right, come on, boys. You with me?
Mm-hmm.
So if I ask you about 19C, you can jump right on that, right? All right, Lucas, tell me how to do 19C. What do I do?
19C.
So 5 3/4 rotation would just be what?
5 3/4 rotation. 3.96 times 5.
I could tell you weren't listening to me. I could 100% tell. Thank you, Mr. Danzy.
You do pi d divided. No. You do pi d times 5 3/4.
That is exactly right. You went the diameter 5 3/4 times. All right? That's what you're doing for 19. Now, do they give us the diameter or do they give us the radius? They give us the radius. What do I have to do with the radius?
Times.
Multiply by 2 or double it. Thank you. So that's your job. Finish that up. All right. Now, how much time do we have? What time is the bell ring today?
27 and it's 18.
All right. So we have like not. So now listen to me, guys. This is the one I want everybody to stop. Put your pencils down. All right. I'm going to try to show you something super important. This kind of, I always say things are easy, right? Now, this I'm saying is kind of hard. So I just want you to pay attention. You can put your pencils down. I'm not even asking you to do it tonight. I'm just trying to see if you understand what I'm saying. Please look up and listen. I want your back down. I want the book down. I want you to get your eyes up on the board, and I want you to pay attention. Same thing here. That goes for everybody. I promise you, it's a hard question. Pencils down. I'm not asking you to work this problem. I'm asking you to pay attention. This is harder than usual. All right? So, you with me? Close your iPads. Put your iPads up. I know. I believe you. I want complete concentration on this problem because I'm trying to make you smart. Smarter. All right? Please look. This is hard. All right? So here we go. All right? For number 22, the world's largest rideable motorcycle travels 1 mile after 272.5 rotations of the tire. To the nearest tenth, how many feet does the motorcycle travel after 1 rotation? And what does this measure represent? Anybody concentrate? Anybody want to give it a shot?
You do 272.5 divided by 5,280 feet. So
I think you're close. But that's a really good thought. Anybody else? I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's wrong. Anybody else thinking something different? Because I want you to talk. All right? So let me ask you this. All right, go.
272.5 times 5,200.
That's a good thought too. What do you think?
I was going to say 5,280 divided by 272.5.
Yeah, so you just said it the other way around. All right, so now please look up on the board because I'm actually going to try to draw it, even though I'm not going to be very good at it. All right, but I'm trying to get you to picture exactly what's going on. All right, so first thing I do is I want you to picture your tire on your car. All right, and I want you to think about the fact, I don't want to really draw it to scale, obviously, but I want you to think about if you're going like 60 miles per hour. All right, have you ever looked at the tire and it doesn't look like it's going? Right, because it's going so fast, your eye can't even tell that it's moving. Right, and so that's what I'm trying to concentrate on now, right? Jake, remember what I said. Put your calculator down, concentrate. I don't want you to be sorry. You're smart enough to handle this. All right, so listen to me. All right, everybody's got to listen. All right, the car, if you're going 60 miles per hour, the car wheel, have you ever like touched it at the end? It's kind of what?
wow.
Yeah, it's kind of warm or hot, right? It's going so fast. All right, so if this wheel, all right, and I'm not very good at drawing, but you know, if you're spinning around, if it's just spinning around that many times, all right, so it's traveling in 1 mile. Here's how I want you to think about it. In 1 mile, it's going 272.5 rotations. All right, now again, guys, I cannot explain. I'm not asking you to do this on the test. I'm not asking you to reproduce this. I'm trying to get you to kind of think. So if it's not so concrete, that you can kind of think better. All right, so that's in 1 mile, right? Well, 1 mile is equivalent to what? 5,280 feet. And how do we know that? Because it told us that, if you hadn't known that. All right, so now what I want you to do is I want you to look at this and say, well, 1 mile is the same as 5,280 feet. So that means that was going that many what? Rotations. Come on, listen to me, please. Do I agree with that? Now, I'm interested in what? 1 rotation. I'm interested in 1 rotation. So to make this 1 rotation, I just divided by 272.5. I just divided by 272.5. So now I need some help. Somebody's got it going on right here. Thank you. 5,200. Now, what I'm trying to get, do you understand now how I knew it was 5,280 divided by 272.5 rather than Mr. Danzy 272 the other way? Do you agree with me?
It's 19.37.
All right. So this is
19.38.
19. Listen to me. 19.38 feet is equal to 1 rotation. Now stop and think about what I just said. What? No, you don't. Here we go. So 1 rotation is equal to 19.38 feet. So now, Oscar, what does 1 rotation mean? No, what does 1 rotation, another name for a rotation?
Oh,
Yes, it is the circumference. So I want you to just remember now that 1 rotation, I can change the name to 1 rotation to the circumference. So you just discovered that the circumference of your tire is what? 19.38 feet. Come on now. I don't care. We're not going anywhere. You're paying attention. I promise you I'm making you smarter. But you can't stop and start. Listen. Listen. Almost done. And I'm super proud of some of you guys. Concentrate. All right? Now, I'm trying to figure out how big my tire is. All right? So what's my circumference? What's that formula again?
Pi.
Yes, pi times d. Thank you very much. So look at this, 19.38 feet. So now how do I figure out what the diameter is? What do I do? Divide it by pi. Thank you very much. So if I divide by pi, do me that favor.
It's 6.1.
So we have the diameter is again
6.1.
about 6.17 what? Feet. That's a pretty big tire. Does everybody agree with me? Well, you've seen trucks that have huge tires, right? And so now, if they ask for the radius, what would I do? Just divide that by 2. So my radius would be about 3.085 feet, something around there, if I'm not mistaken. All right, I don't even know what the question is. But again, guys, I need to tell you, a rotation is the same as a what? Circumference. All right, so keep that in mind. Mr. Greek, just hold off for a minute. I'm not done yet. All right, you're distracting me. Okay, thank you for that. All right, so here, after we did that, we answered A. 1 rotation was 19.38 feet. We said that represented the circumference to the nearest tenth. How many feet tall are the tires? So the tires are what? A little bit more than what? 6 feet. All right, a little bit more than 6 feet. So 6-foot tires like that big, right? All right, about as tall as I am. All right, again, very difficult. I'm not asking you to reproduce that. hopefully you paid attention to what I said because I think it's important. All right. Tonight, your job, try to do the what? Try to do the evens, please. Make yourself a picture if you need to. Sometimes it helps. I want the formula, I want the substitution, and I want the solution. You can use a calculator. 3 steps. You're welcome. Yes.
I don't have access to the book.
Yes, you do.
Neither of us.
No, I don't.
Yes. Well, you got to figure out what the password is.
I don't know what the password is.
Well, how do you figure that out?
You gotta be strong.
I mean, what am I supposed to do?